as you can see, things take a darker turn. Lakeshore Psychiatric Hospital Cemetery, 1890-1979. I'm not sure if these gates are open. Regardless if they're open or not, I'm not going in. 215 Indigenous children were unalived and thrown into an unmarked grave. This is what was conveyed to the general public in Canada, then that spread across the world like wildfire. Come and join me today. I'm out on a Sunday 26-kilometer bike route, but I touch on some pretty heavy, some pretty deep topics today, and I'm going to tell you there are many trigger warnings in this video for liberals that have been indoctrinated beyond reasonable common sense. There are going to be many triggers for liberals in this video today. I touch on the residential school. I touch on an asylum cemetery in Toronto, and some of the atrocities that were committed in that psychiatric hospital, and I tie what's going on with the Indigenous people, with the 215 so-called graves in Kamloops, and what's happening in the rest of this country. Stick around, this video gets pretty heavy. Stop number one, dog fed. This is what passes for roads in socialist, communist Toronto. But look at this. Look at these roads. These roads aren't safe to drive cars on, let alone bikes. And I'm not one of those people that are, gonna go rant and raving about cyclist safety. But you can't hit these roads at any sort of speed. And if you don't have a fat tire bike like mine, you're in trouble. If you just have a regular bike with regular tires, you're not going to last too long on these roads. It's going to be a dangerous situation and you're going to go down. These roads are unbelievably messed up. Like, the camera, I'm sure, is not doing it justice. But this touches on my video from the other day with regards to crumbling infrastructure and how our money is being completely wasted on nonsensical things. And I'm going to really get into that today. At my second stop down on Birmingham Street in New Toronto. I've been here twice before. This is a National Defence Armory. It's the Toronto Scottish Regiment, and it's dedicated to Captain Belladin Hutchison, VC. I'm on my way down to the Mimico Asylum, later called the Lakeshore Psychiatric Hospital, and now the Humber Lakeshore campus. It's a college, but I specifically came by here just to show you and pay some respect to Captain Hutchison, VC. My understanding, he is the only American-born recipient of the Victoria Cross while fighting for Canada. We have 99 Victoria Cross recipients in the history of the honor. And my understanding is Captain Hutchison is the only American-born. And maybe someday I'll go to his final resting spot as well. It's in Illinois somewhere. I'll put up some information on the screen with regards to Captain Hutchison. But I just thought I'd stop here, show you that. Then right next door, I'm going to show you that in 1 second. And right next door to the armory is the Toronto Police Training Center, Toronto Police School, Toronto Police Academy. I'll get the exact wording for it up here. Toronto Police College. It's up on there with their shield, their insignia. So this place here is where I guess every Toronto recruit of the TPS comes and gets trained up to become a Toronto cop. Now, what they train you in that Toronto Police College is unbeknownst to me, but I'm going to go out on a limb and speculate for entertainment purposes only that they're not training you on how to be fully on the up and up. based on what is happening in within the Toronto Police Service right now. Many former police are coming out with regards to some serious allegations against the TPS, including most recently Hank Azinga, the former detective of I think he was the lead detective of the homicide squad. He's retired. He's coming out and saying there's systemic racism, systemic anti-Jewish hate, anti-Semitism. And if you watch Mad Lab Press, Jay from Mad Lab Press, he's a 24-year veteran. His channel is very much focused on pointing out the shortcomings and the illegal activity of the TPS. So, yeah, Lord only knows what's going on within those walls. But that was my second and third stop on to my fourth stop. Coming into my fourth stop. Originally opened in 1889 as the Mimico Asylum. Changed later on to the Lakeshore Psychiatric Hospital, and it closed down in 1979, and it sat dormant for many years. I'm not sure when Humber College acquired the property and refurbished the buildings, but it's been a college for a couple decades anyways, at least. I'm not sure. And I'm not on these grounds because of the college. I'm on the grounds, and well, I'm going to go over why I'm on the grounds. Now, this court here, or this roundabout, it may look familiar to people that are movie buffs. This is where the Police Academy movies were filmed back in the early 80s. And I do believe this building here was the reception building right ahead, G17. And I believe Commandant Lassard's office was right ahead, I think. I'm not a Police Academy movie historian, but I'm going to go over some things with you. Okay, I'm standing in front. I believe it was back in the day when it was a psychiatric hospital or asylum. The head or the reception area, the administration building, I think. That is kind of irrelevant anyways if I got that wrong. But the reason I'm here today, I want to put things from an everyday person perspective, someone who has average intelligence of what I see transpiring in this country, what the Liberal government has started and has expedited with regards to using the Indigenous people in this country, or the Indigenous wrongdoings in this country, to take land away from everyday citizens that are multi-generational Canadians. My lineage on my mother's side, my heritage on my mother's side, can be traced back to 1834 in Ontario, out by Kitchener. 1834. On my father's side, I only trace it back to 1895. My father's side, we came from Ireland. I am, as I said in my videos before, I am equal parts Scottish, Irish, Welsh, and English. All around 25%, give or take. So, I was born in this country. My parents were born in this country. My grandparents and their grandparents were born in this country on my mother's side, and on my father's side, they were born in Europe. So, I've done a video in the past on the Kamloops Residential School. Now, lots of people have done in-depth documentaries on the Kamloops Residential School, namely Dallas Brody and Frances Widdowson. I think her name is Frances Widdowson. Anyhow, they are both highly educated women. I'll put the documentaries. They both did documentaries, and I'll put both those documentaries at the end of this video in a thumbnail, and I'll also put it in the description. And if you can't find these documentaries, let me know in the comment section, and I will put the link in the comment section. I want you to watch these documentaries. Now, I've watched the documentary by Dallas Brody. It's called Making a Killing, and I watched it a few times, and it is very enlightening. enlightening to what happened out with the residential schools in Kamloops. Now, the main focal point came out in 2021, whereas it was portrayed through the liberal bought and paid for media that 215 Indigenous children were unalived and thrown into an unmarked grave. This is what was conveyed to the general public in Canada, then that spread across the world like wildfire. That NDP member of parliament, Leah Gazin, is on record, on video, stating that it was a genocide, quote unquote, a genocide. So that kick-started the Every Child Matters movement, and every year there is a holiday as a result of this. Churches across Canada were vandalized, set on fire. Over 100 churches were vandalized. Over 30 were burnt to the ground as a result of what came out in 2021 with regards to the residential school in Kamloops. Of the 215 apparent children that were unalived and thrown into unmarked graves. Now, there was a book written on it, which I've read, called Grave Error. There was a Dallas Brody documentary. There was the Francis Widdowson documentary. Like I said, they'll both go up on this video. You got to watch these videos to fully understand the level of deceitfulness, the level of corruption, and the level of indoctrination that has been perpetuated on the Canadian people and people throughout the world with regards to this. There is initial, well, I shouldn't say initial, there is information stating that $12.1 million was given to people associated with the Kamloops Residential School to investigate and to exhume and find human remains on the grounds of the Kamloops Residential School. That was 5 years ago. To this day, as I stand here, not one grave has been exhumed. Not one human piece of evidence has been found. Quite the opposite. They actually put a fence, a barrier around the supposed mass grave site so you can't see. You can't see what's going on in there. They deemed it sacred Indigenous ground, so you can't step foot on the ground. So you put two and two together, just from a person like myself, average intelligence, outside looking in, this doesn't add up. Now, this Leah Gazin person also wants legislation, or wanted legislation put in, that if you talk like me today, that it could be deemed hate speech and it could be deemed illegal, that you are a residential school denier. I'm not a residential school denier. They existed. I get that. But you got to ask yourself this question, just simple question. 215 kids go missing and no one gets charged for this? No one goes to trial for this? I don't care if it was back in the early 1900s, 1910, 1920. We had laws back then. You couldn't unalive people. So you had 215 children. Where are the parents? Where are the parents back in the day saying, hey, my kid went to your school. I came to your, and I'm going to get to why I'm here today too. I came to your school, I dropped my kid off, or my kids off at your school, or maybe they were taken away because the household they came out of was unfit to raise children. You do realize that a lot of children to this day are taken out of households, whether you be First Nations, Indigenous, or whether you be a white person, a black person, an Asian person. Children's Aid, Native Children Aid Society will come and take your child away if you're an unfit parent. That happens countless. I know people that work for the Children's Aid Society. I've dealt with the Native Children's Aid Society, not me directly, but I've seen some outcome of how the system works. It's flawed, seriously flawed. So you can only imagine back at the turn of the century how flawed these systems were. So people back in the day just didn't come and kick your door in if you were in a stable household and take your children away. Did that happen? Possibly. There is evil. There has been evil in this world since the inception of humans, okay? We get that. We get that. Is it solely perpetuated on Indigenous First Nations people? Without a doubt. And that's why I'm here today, and I'm going to stick with me. This is going to get very interesting. So, Since the Liberals came in power in 2015, they have elevated the land claim rights. They have elevated the Indigenous people of this country. They were so wronged by white people. It's all the white people that are in charge of this country, that are Liberals, that are saying that the white people did wrong to the First Nations people. What color is Mark Carney? What color is Justin Trudeau? What color is Pierre Poilievre? What color is Daniel Smith, Doug Ford, Rob Ford? They're all white. And they're telling you, they want us to believe that people that had nothing to do with these residential schools or this Mimico Asylum. I had nothing to do with this. Actually, to be honest, one of my uncles had to come here, and I'll get into that. We had nothing to do with it. So why must we pay for this? Why must we suffer for what essentially past governments have done? Why aren't the politicians themselves suffering? I'm going to get into that. So, 215 children. It was portrayed, widespread, that they were unalived, thrown in unmarked graves. So what they did, they got a bunch of they got a bunch of women. They put in dream catcher earrings. Oh, got some Karens walking their dogs like usual. Hold on. So what they did, they rolled out a bunch of women. They put dream catcher or bead earrings on them to make them appear like they were in solidarity with the First Nations people, and they put them in front of the mainstream media, and they said they used ground penetrating radar and they discovered anomalies. Okay, I'm not a GPR ground penetrating radar expert, but if I take it to any one of these fields around here and I start dragging it around with dream catcher earrings, and you have Indigenous elders there that are making sure it's done correctly. What the fuck do they know about GPR? They know nothing about it. Okay, this is all theatrics. I'm gonna find anomalies wherever I drag this ground penetrating radar, because that's what it does. It finds anomalies. It doesn't find unalive people. This is a complete scam. A complete scam. So that $12.1 million, where did that go? No one knows where that went. Okay, and subsequently, because you're going to watch that documentary, or one of the documentaries, subsequently $5.2 billion was given out to First Nations people that went to residential schools, and they didn't even have to prove they were abused in any way. 5,500 people that worked in residential schools, that were administration, teachers, principals, whatever, were implicated. None of them charged. None of them brought to trial. Just implicated with serious crimes, with serious accusations of SA. And in this documentary, you'll see some of the people that taught in residential schools trying to defend themselves. They didn't want to hear it because it's a complete scam. It's a complete scam. I'm not denying residential schools, they existed. And I'm not denying that some atrocities did happen in these residential schools. A whole lot more atrocities happened on the grounds of this facility here. I'm going to get into that. Okay, a lot more on this facility. And you don't hear nothing about this because this wasn't specifically associated with First Nations people. This was everyone. So what good is that? What good is white people being having atrocities done to them? That's not going to get any liberal political street cred. They got to use Indigenous people, and I'm going to get into that. So I can't stress enough to watch those two documentaries, and by me talking about it isn't going to do it justice. It will be very eye-opening for you and very enlightening. Now, the reason I'm on the grounds here today, this, like I said earlier, this was opened in 1889. And it was supposed to be state-of-the-art back in the day, and it was supposed to help people out. They had cutting-edge processes to help with people with mental health concerns. Now, it closed in 1979. My uncle was put in here, I don't know for how long, but the story is, and I'll be very transparent with you, it was my mother's brother, and he was always good to me. I never had a problem with my uncle. I'm not going to say his name, but apparently he broke into our family home, and he may or may not have stolen one of my father's shotgun. And then allegedly he went down to a local mall and ran through the mall with the shotgun naked. So No one got injured. Kind of funny now. I'm sure it wasn't funny then. And he was put in here. So if that indeed, and it was before I was born, if that indeed is the truth, obviously my uncle had to come here. You can't be doing stuff like that, obviously. So that would, nowadays, if you were to do that, nowadays, if you were perceived to be a marginalized person, you would do that in the morning. You'd make bail by noon, and they might give you the gun back. That's, I'm not even kidding. That's the difference. This property that we're on was 500 acres. 500 acres. I think it had 26 buildings. I don't know how many are left, but these are the original buildings. They're all restored. They're beautiful looking buildings. And what this was a working farm. So people would be taken in here as people that needed psychiatric treatment, and they'd be put to work. And when they were put to work, it was deemed therapy. So people came into this facility and didn't leave for some of them up to 40 years, and they worked. They worked in the fields farming. Back, when I ride my bike back there, I'll show you the fields. They were large farms which sustained the food within this facility, and they had enough food left over to sell it. And they also had a laundry service in here that would do laundry, not only for this facility, but for surrounding businesses, hospitals, whatever. And people that worked in those facilities never got paid either. And they were in there, some of them 25, 30 years, doing laundry, planting crops. There was one gentleman that worked here. He worked for the Toronto Transit Commission back in the day. He got put in here for whatever reason, and he was a boiler expert. So he knew how to operate the boilers within this facility, and that's what he did here. He was the boiler expert, and he did that for decades. And when he was released, he tried to get employment outside, and they didn't count his work record here as working. It was deemed therapy. So he never worked back in his trained profession or trade. There is a documentary on this place as well. I'm putting a lot of documentaries. I'm going to put that documentary. I'm going to try to. I don't even know how to do this, but I'm going to try to put that documentary in this video as well. Very good documentary, and I won't do the way I'm doing this video today, I won't do it justice compared to that documentary. But from here, I'm going to go look for a plaque. Just leaving the court there where I'm standing in front of the administration building. And like I said, I'm going to be looking for a plaque that I think is on this property that will outline the, for lack of a better term, the forced workforce that they had here. So back here, where this sports field is, would have been a large crop operation, farming. So vegetables, root crops, tomatoes, you know, everything that they could grow on this soil. And you can see there are still quite a few buildings that are standing. And like I said, they're nice looking buildings. They are nice looking. Very well restored, and they appear to have maintained a lot of their original architecture, obviously. Where would that plaque be? I think I see a plaque over here. Wow, lots of bugs out. No, that's not a plaque. Maybe a plaque was there though, definitely. So maybe this plaque that I am looking for is no longer here. Because I'd have to say a plaque was there. Maybe, maybe not. I'll continue looking. My first time ever down in here. Huh. Oh, pretty nice. Really nice. Beautiful campus, isn't it? And that's what they did back in the day. They made the the asylum's quite tranquil, but they were anything but that. Very, very bad things were done on the property within these walls and on these grounds, and I'm going to get to that. Not seeing no plaque. I'm thinking, you know what I'll do, I'll try to find that plaque online, and I'll put it up in the video. I'm not going to scour the grounds here looking for a plaque that may or may not exist any longer. Let's take a little cruise down the boulevard here, see if we can see a plaque. How are you? What's up, buddy? It's okay. Okay, so now I'm going to leave the grounds of the Mimico Asylum Lakeshore Psychiatric Hospital, and I'm going to go approximately 2 kilometers north, and I'm going to end up at a location that is notoriously tied to this location, and it's going to put things into perspective. It's going to make things it's sad, and I'll go over that location when I get there. 2 kilometers north, it's just adjacent to the Gardiner Expressway, the Queen Elizabeth Way. The Toronto Maple Leafs and Toronto Marlies AHL affiliate practice center. It's called the Ford Performance Center. So that's where the Toronto Maple Leafs practice. Been in there many times. Nice barn. Oh, and I failed to mention, this area in Toronto is swarming with police. The police college, and there's a couple of divisions in close proximity to this area, so there is always high police presence in this neighborhood. Had my microphone in my pocket. Doesn't work very well there, does it? So, to my left, that huge monstrosity of a building right there, that is the Toronto South Detention Center. It's an Ontario jail where you would do time 2 years less a day, or you'd be held until you face trial. And there is a lot of controversy with regards to this place as well. Namely, that has been outlined in recent media releases, where I believe it's up to 13 Toronto police and I believe a couple Peel police have been charged for accessing the Canadian Police Information Center, CPEC, and giving criminals the addresses of a jail guard or a jail guard supervisor in this location. And subsequently, some gangbangers, some 68ers, the 68 IQs, went and shot up the guy's house. They had to teach him a lesson. So, if you can believe it, Toronto police have been implicated in trying or facilitating a jail guard to be whacked. Toronto South Detention. So, that also ties into the police corruption I was saying earlier. And apparently there's a lot of problems in there other than cops wanting to unalive jail guards. They have an overcrowding problem, they have a bed bug problem, they have a rampant drug problem in there, corruption problem with regards to the correctional staff. The list goes on and on and on. Societal collapse, people. Intersection of Evans and Horner Avenue. Straight ahead is the on-ramp for the Gardiner Expressway going east into the city. and the off ramp coming off on Horner from the QEW. Now, as you can see, things take a darker turn. Lakeshore Psychiatric Hospital Cemetery, 1890-1979. Now, I'm not sure if these gates are open. Regardless, if they're open or not, I'm not going in. My intention to come down here was not to go on the grounds of this cemetery. It is now 8:35 in the morning on Sunday, and I wanted to start the day early because of the traffic. I knew this was going to be a busy area. Okay, the gate is open. I could go in there, but out of respect to the people in this resting in this cemetery, because they had real atrocities done to them, a lot of them. Understand that, okay? Now, I've been in a lot of cemeteries. If you watch my channel, I've been in countless cemeteries. I've been to countless military graves, and across Canada, from Vancouver to St. John's, Newfoundland. Robert McBeath in Mountain View Cemetery in Vancouver, all the way to Thomas Ricketts, VC, in St. John's Anglican Cemetery in St. John's, Newfoundland. I've been all across the country. I'm not going on the grounds of this cemetery. It's not because I'm afraid. It's because I'm going to get into why. I'm going to read this plaque. It's my first time being this close to this cemetery. I've known about this cemetery for decades. Established in 1890, this cemetery contains the remains of 1,511 individuals who died at the Mimico Asylum Lakeshore Psychiatric Hospital. Construction of the hospital on its 60 scenic acres beside Lake Ontario began in the 1880s as a healthy respite facility for patients who would be transferred from the province's existing asylums. Now, my understanding is that the grounds are a lot bigger than 60 acres. The Mimico Branch Asylum opened on January 21st, 1890, under the administration of the Asylum for the Insane. Toronto later named the Queen Street Mental Health Center. So when this one closed down, all asylum activities was moved to Queen Street. It received its first 116 patients on that day from Toronto, with the exception of 10 male patient laborers who had been resident since 1889 to prepare the site for later occupants. In 1892, it was decided that the Mimico Asylum, so renamed, should become a fully integrated facility in its own right, rather than a long-stay patient-only branch, which it remained until it closed and partially re-merged with the Queen Street facility in 1979. The first burial at this cemetery took place in 1890 and the last in 1974. For 84 years, the cemetery at Mimico was used to bury patients who had no family or lacked sufficient funds to make other arrangements. The cemetery was divided in half by a central north-south road. Roman Catholics were buried on its west side of the cemetery, and the Protestants were buried primarily on the east side. So they had segregation even in death. That's what they did back in the day. They still do. The rows are marked at each end by a small square stone inscribed with letter or number corresponding to the burial register. There are 50 graves per row, aligned 2 end to end by 25 across. Most of the graves are unmarked. The placement of 154 small markers with the name and the years of birth and death of each deceased only began in 1957. May they rest in peace and not be forgotten. Okay. So, a lot of the people that are interred on these grounds are unidentified. They, as I just read, most of these people here were buried on the grounds because family had given up on them. They had no family, they had no money for burial, and subsequently they were buried here. So 1,511 people over the years of that asylum ended up here. And Obviously a lot more. Family took them and they were buried all over the country, all over the world. Who knows? But I would say it is without a doubt, that atrocities happen to a great number of these people, okay? Now, back in the day, including in the residential schools, a lot of people died of natural causes and disease and like tuberculosis, influenza. Mass numbers of people died back then because we didn't have the medical technology to keep people alive. So a lot of people that are in here in the cemetery died as a result of that, I'm sure. Were a lot of experiments done on these people? I'd have to say they were. Now, if you research this cemetery, you will find information online about this cemetery, lots of it. And you will also find one video, or at least one video, of a woman in here looking for an indigenous relative. And I believe that was on City TV, did the news segment of some woman wearing dream catcher earrings looking for her native relative in there. Like, only natives matter in this country. That's what I'm getting at. Okay, so I'm gonna get away from this area because it's too noisy. Now you're probably also gonna say, well, Dewey, I wish you would have went in there and walked around. And that isn't gonna happen today. I don't know if that'll ever happen. You can't ride a bike through here. And it gets worse again up here too. Yeah, let's put aside another 200 million to combat fake racism in this city. Yeah, manufactured racism. Look at this road. Like, I got a 20-inch fat tire bike. I can't ride my bike through that. That dog bite?
You got teeth, that's the teeth?
Yeah, good answer. What you doing, girl? What you doing? I asked that lady if the dog bite. She goes, it got teeth, don't she? Good answer. My sixth and final stop. The affluent enclave of Baby Point, or as the phony liberals like to call it, Bobby Point. I'm a local guy, so I call it Baby Point. And looks like their exorbitant taxes aren't fixing their road either. And they pay heavy duty taxes in here. Some of these houses pay over $20,000 a year in taxes, property taxes, 20 grand. So the reason I'm here at this exclusive enclave, this parcel of land, thousands of years ago, centuries ago, thousands of years ago, was Seneca First Nations settlement. And there used to be a plaque. It's not that plaque there. This cop car was parked here the other day too. I don't know why this cop car is parked here, but it was parked here the other day. The cop live here? Who knows? Or is a cop here taking some time out to service some of the female constabulary? Anyhow, so you can see they got a private tennis court here, which I played on. Apparently Carling Bassett, a famous Canadian tennis player, played on that. I played on that court until some rich Karen came and kicked us off. But getting back to the large First Nation settlement that was here. This house here, it's under renovation. Was a friend of my brother lived there, this one here. And my brother told me back in the day when they were, when he was a kid, not my brother, but his friend, they'd be digging in the backyard and they'd dig up Indian or native artifacts, namely arrowheads. So I'm gonna come up here, I'm gonna show you a house. This house here, I've been in this house, number 35. It's a gorgeous house. Probably, it's for sale now. I would say that they're probably asking around $7 million for that house. 35 Baby Point Crescent. And I've known this area ever since I was a little kid. Very familiar with it. So there's a lot of people walking through here looking at the old existing houses and the new ones that are going up. This house here is stunning. Beautiful house. That house there, to build that house on that property would be, I would say, around $15 million. It would be my guess. Very nice. What's that house listed for, you figure?
Oh, I would think
10 million?
yeah, I would think like on the low conservative side, at least asking price of 5, but
Oh yeah.
one somewhere in between 5 and 10.
It'd be north of 5.
Yeah.
But the details on this place. You've seen the fountain when it's not
No,
covered? Oh,
no.
it's fantastic.
No, I grew up in the neighborhood.
Did you?
I'm just out for a ride this morning,
yeah,
but
nice.
but yeah.
How about that? Isn't that whimsical?
Yeah.
So
I love that.
When you go back up here, there's number 35. I've done work on some of these houses in here, and number 35 actually has a bridge, an enclosed bridge from the main house to the coach house.
Is that right?
It's up for sale now
Keep
too.
an eye out.
Yeah, I think it's listed for 6.7 mil.
Okay. Huh.
when you get, but come by when the fountain.
Yeah, I will.
Just lovely.
Yeah.
Take care.
Take care. Have a good day.
Enjoy your ride.
Thank you. Go across the street over here. Get out of people's way. It's a hive of activity. So there are a lot of people looking at houses right now. So the point I'm going to make while I'm parked here, this is my final stop. I'm pretty sure that house is listed for over $10 million. If I can find some information, I'll put it up on the screen. Now, I know this area because, like I said, I'm familiar with this area. I've dealt with people in this area. It's predominantly liberal. It's a liberal voting stronghold. So, what I want to impress, what the hell is this? Porsche. Nice Porsche Turbo, like in late 90s, early 2000. Couple Porsches. So, what I want to impress in closing this video up, we have all these bleeding heart liberals that are jumping on the indigenous bandwagon where they've been wronged, and they are going along with the liberal plan to take the land away from these existing owners and put it back into the hands of indigenous people. I'll be the first to tell you, I don't want indigenous people running my life. I don't want indigenous people owning this land. Indigenous people didn't build these houses. Indigenous people didn't build the infrastructure in this city. Okay? Some did. A very, very small percentage did. Okay? It was European settlers that came in to North America and built what we have today. It wasn't asylum seekers. It wasn't foreign temporary workers. It wasn't foreign students, exchange students. It was none of that. It wasn't truck drivers from India that built what we have in this country. Okay? So, what I want to impress upon the liberals in this country, this house is 10 million. Why don't you sell this house, you bleeding heart liberal? Sell this house, put enough money aside to go buy yourself a fancy tent, some cooking gear, some camping gear, water filtration, and go live down by the Humber River. Donate the money. Give it to the indigenous people that you pretend to be propping up and pretend to be backing. Do that. Live like a homeless person. There's a food bank that's just opened up right off Jane Street at Baby Point. You can use that food bank. I don't know what they got in there, but you can use it. You don't need it. You don't need the $10 million you're getting from this house. You need put $100,000 aside of that $10 million and go buy yourself some real nice camping gear. Do that. Okay? Why should the rest of us have to pay the price for something we had nothing to do with? Did you know Mark Carney's father was actually a principal of a native day school, not a residential school? He was a principal for native school. Did you know that? Did you know that Mark Carney's main company, Brookfield Asset Management, has $1 trillion in assets? If there are 2 million so-called indigenous people in this country, why doesn't he go to Brookfield Asset Management, and because he's the top dog, he's the head financial guy in the world right now, trying to bring down the United States. Why don't you go liquidate your $1 trillion in assets and disperse it amongst the 2 million Indigenous people in this country. That's $500,000 a person. Why don't you do that, Mark Carney? Justin Trudeau, with your crocodile tears, pretending there's 215 deceased children in a mass grave that were massacred. It's insanity. It's insanity. Then you have what I just showed you up on Evans and Horner, 511 people. How come that hasn't been thoroughly investigated? How come there hasn't been outrage? How come there hasn't been a bunch of masculine women with septum rings and purple hair protesting that place, wearing dreamcatcher earrings and bead earrings, pretending that they are in alignment with Indigenous rights? I'm not denying the residential schools existed. Show me some proof. You are accusing white people of genocide. I could get thanks to the Liberal policy, there are a lot of tradesmen and construction workers unemployed right now. The biggest union, I think it's the biggest union in Ontario for laborers, is 183 Luna. There are lots of people unemployed there right now. I could go and get 10 construction workers that work not landscaping, but work construction sites. I can get a backhoe operator, and I can get 9 guys with shovels. We could go there. I'll go there. I'll go to the Kamloops Residential School, and we will break ground, and we will try to find these 215 anomalies that some septum nose ring wearing paid off Liberal woman said she found with the ground penetrating radar. Why don't we go start digging? Why don't we put some of these unemployed construction workers back to work? There's probably nothing left of that $12 million. Why don't you just cut us off? We won't need near that. That's $55,000 a grave. $55,000 a grave they allotted. We don't need $55,000 a grave. Give us $500 a grave. That would be great. And we'll start digging up nothing. The Liberal government handed out $5.2 billion in the largest scam payout in Canadian history to Indigenous people. The highest payouts were $275,000. You didn't have to prove. You just had to prove that you went to a residential school. You didn't have to prove anything that was done to you. And there was a checklist. And based on the severity of this checklist you mailed in, it would be reflective of the check that you got mailed to your house. Why is the Liberal government causing mass chaos in this country? Why are they dividing people? Why are they dividing races? Why are they importing unsustainable immigration with all different backgrounds, with all different religious backgrounds into this country? Why are they weaponizing the Indigenous people in this country against us? Why? Do you think if they get rid of people like me, you think this country's going to get better? No, it's going to get far, far worse. Far worse. You people are so indoctrinated and so stupid, you don't know what's coming. That's going to be my video. I'll put up in the video too how many kilometers I did and the map that I did. I just left my Garmin watch running. I didn't pause it. So when I was doing the video and talking, it just kept on running. So the time is not reflective of my actual travel. But what are we at here? Oh, we're at 35 kilometers. Or sorry, 25 kilometers. 26. So I did 26 kilometers in a loop, culminating on Seneca native indigenous property that was strategically picked out for its elevation, from flooding and from defensive strategy, and within its proximity of the Toronto Carrying Place Trail as a fur route, commodities trade route back in the day. So all around here, if you dig up, when Home Smith was digging up this property to make these houses, you don't think he found native artifacts? You don't think he found native bones? People? Sure he did. You can dig up here now. There's probably people finding native artifacts and doing gardening here. This was a huge Seneca community. There are native artifacts everywhere here. Is the possibility you're going to dig up an old native burial site? 100% possibility. Does it mean that white man threw them in some pit? You people better smarten up. This is becoming this country is becoming to the point beyond repair. Smarten up. Now, Mark Carney, liquidate Brookfield Asset Management, Give each indigenous person in this country $500,000 if you're so concerned about them. This liberal that's selling his $10 million house, donate all the proceeds of that house to a First Nations tribe band. Go live in a tent. Use a food bank.